The opening montage of the episode is beautiful and is one of my favourite sequences, not just in the Venture Brothers but in the whole of TV and cinema.
FlynnsArcade.
Hi, this is FlynnsArcade, and this is my video about Powerless in the Face of Death, one of my all-time favourite Venture Brothers episodes, with special reference to this book here. I'm going to talk a bit about the plot and then talk about any highlights of the episode, and there are a lot because it's such a great episode. And so, before we start, actually, can you just drop me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? And now, let's go. The Monarch is still in prison, and his ex has started a new relationship with Phantom Limb. The Venture family are still reeling from the deaths of the boys and the new arrival of Uncle JJ. Dr. Venture goes on a bender around the world and is brought back to the compound by Brock. A grief-stricken Dr. Orpheus scours the underworld to find the boys, but to no avail. The Monarch escapes from prison and Dr. Venture reveals his secret cloning technology, which he has used to resurrect Henchmen. As to the style of the episode, it was number 20 in production order, so it was made after a few other episodes, because Jackson Public had the philosophy that you shouldn't write the premiere first, because he wanted to get a few episodes under his belt, so before he actually wrote the premiere. This was definitely the right decision because the episode is so powerful and well-rounded. The opening montage of the episode is beautiful and is one of my favourite sequences, not just in the Venture Brothers but in the whole of TV and cinema. Especially the diegetic switch we've just seen when the music goes from being background music from no recognisable source to being played in the club. It's absolutely perfect. Seeing the characters look so miserable and Dr. Venture's drug-fueled mission to either lose or find himself is so poignant. I've seen this sequence countless times and it always hits me differently. The inclusion of the Rosala track was a stroke of genius. The lyrics are incredibly positive and upbeat, but they're undercut by the slight mournfulness in the instrumental. I've definitely heard the song before I saw this episode, but I'd never really paid it that much attention. But now it has a real magic associated with it for me. In the book, Jackson Public declares it as a real guilty pleasure and not what I listen to generally. It's certainly very different from the Britpop gloom of Sweden from the Divine Comedy from the Isolation Impossible episode. But like Jackson, I don't normally listen to that type of music either. I think I'm more a fan of gloomy Britpop than upbeat dance pop tracks, but I'm so glad they used it. Initially, the network didn't want to pay the royalties for use of the song, and Doc Hammer had to write a replacement song to go with the montage. Upon seeing the new cut of the episode with Doc Hammer's song in it, the network agreed to pay the royalties for the song because they realised how integral it was to the episode. And in the words of Doc Hammer, it almost proved that the song needed to be in there. The sequence is followed by a massive bait and switch title sequence. Tricking us into thinking that Hank and Dean had now been replaced by the other Venture Brothers, Dr. Venture and JJ. This was a real power move. Dr. Orpheus's journey into the underworld is a reference to Dante's Inferno and the 1980s dark fantasy film Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Tell everyone, why don't you?
Everybody knows. Why you think you're in hell? Because you're lying.
Well, I'm trying to find the souls of two innocents. One, Dean, has rust-colored hair. The other, Hank, is tow-headed.
Which beautifully combines both pop culture and the classics to portray the seriousness of this situation. One of the major themes of this episode is the physical versus the metaphysical. Dr. Orpheus unsuccessfully scours the underworld searching for the souls of Hank and Dean, whilst Dr. Venture is in the process of regenerating them. The two argue about the ethics of this, and the scientifically minded Dr. Venture defends his practices.
That computer feeds all their nocturnally recorded memory synapses.
Their memories, hopes, and dreams, their immortal soul!
You're killing me with that crap. Just let me finish. That computer feeds synaptic data to their incubation beds. That information is supplemented with basic knowledge that my dad recorded for me so I didn't have to go to school. And that is why I didn't lose my virginity till I was 24.
The absence of their souls from the afterlife satisfies the more religiously minded viewers that the boys really have been reincarnated, and the more secularly minded viewer can be content with Dr. Venture's logical explanation that the boys haven't really died but have been regenerated. However, if you're anything like me, this process has asked a lot more questions than it answers, and the existential mystery of Hank and Dean will continue to be an ongoing source of fascination as we move through the series. Another theme is that of sibling rivalry. JJ is already more successful than Dr. Venture, both in his career and his personal life. Dr. Venture isn't even a real doctor, and this is a big source of personal shame for him. He's also a big failure with women. Within his short lifespan, JJ has managed to achieve 2 doctorates.
Oh, those are my contracts.
They were addressed to Dr. Venture, and since you've been gone, I've received 2 doctorates. So I'm a Dr. Venture too.
So yeah, there's some massive sibling rivalry right there. JJ's already managed to massively outdo his older brother in the worst way possible. Actually, thinking about it, it isn't the worst way possible. As we've seen quite a lot in season 1, Dr. Venture has a very poor relationship with women, and now we can see JJ has managed to develop a relationship not just with one woman, apparently with 2.
Well, I'll be seeing you, big brother.
You're leaving me with these people?
Yep, you're off to Spider Skull Island. Did you bring your bikini?
One for me and one for Colette.
Go, Team Venture!
So yeah, he's quite cocky about it, and he doesn't seem to hide away from the fact from his brother. But yeah, I mean, this really will have upset Dr. Venture, as we know he is quite desperate, because we saw back in season 1 with his interactions with Charlene. So yeah, the fact that JJ seems to have 2 women on the go, that fact won't have escaped him, and I'm sure he's eaten up with jealousy over it. Seeing his brother, who had a really awful start in life, is obviously going to create quite a bit of psychological damage on him. It's going to add even more psychological damage onto his already troubled psyche. The boys have a huge piece of character development with the revelation that they have died and been reincarnated many times. As a viewer, we're never going to see them in the same way again.
We had a gas leak that time. The silent killer.
In the book, Doc Hammer explains that the boys were always clones and they were always coming back. Back in the pilot episode, I learned that the origin story of Hank and Dean, and in fact, indeed the whole Ventureverse, was some comic drawings that Jackson Public drew of 2 boy adventurers meeting gruesome and untimely ends in comedic ways. I love the idea that this central plot device was always a thing in the Ventureverse, even when it was in an embryonic stage. It's always been a sort of, I don't know, like the heart of the Ventureverse. Dr. Venture's grief when he flees from Brock in the X1 is initially heartbreaking to see. However, now we know the reality of the boys' bizarre cloning backstory, I now think he uses their deaths to go out on a massive bender, in the same way that normal parents will go out to a restaurant when the kids are staying at the friend's house. However, Dr Orpheus and Triana's guilt is completely played straight.
I did this. I let this happen to them. The boys were in my charge and I failed.
Not your fault. These things happen.
What is it with you people? Those children were cut down in their prime, and my negligence is to blame. Hate me!
All right, fine. I hate you.
The guilt-stricken Dr Orpheus's behaviour is consistent with what we already know about him, but the previously stoic and sarcastic Triana's outpourings.
I don't even want to think about them as zombies.
No, sweeties. Zombies are animated bodies without souls.
She feels things really deeply and really cares about the boys, even if we hadn't previously seen much evidence for it. The Monarch's love for Doc's girlfriend becomes the main motivation for his escape from prison, in contrast to his dismissive and outright disrespectful attitude towards her throughout Season 1. His prison mate, King Gorilla, also gets a massive redemption arc from his attempted essay of the Monarch.
No, I was gonna. But
Gonna? What the f***, King?
I couldn't get it up. You built too much like a girl. I couldn't get into it.
Wait, what? This isn't even my cell. What, did you take me to your place?
Like a point here. It helps.
I mean, it's played for laughs, at least partially because of the consistent use of foul language, but yeah, this is really grim. But he does get a bit of redemption, as we're going to see here.
What changed your mind?
Believe it or not, love. It was there in your eyes when you spoke of your girlfriend. I always thought you were kind of a schmuck, but what kind of monster would I be to stand in the way of love? Go, find her, get her back, and when you do, you love her and you never let go.
So as we can see from the French kiss he gives the Monarch, he still has a very flimsy knowledge of the nature of consent, but he does something genuinely heroic. He gets himself into a lot of trouble over his actions helping him escape, and he does it all for the right reasons, but in light of his really bad behaviour throughout this episode, I doubt we're going to see him having a massive redemption arc or being incorporated as a regular character anytime soon. Henchmen 21 and 24 get a huge character development when we see them out of uniform for the first time in the Henchmen support group.
What is that, a royal jelly donut you got there, you big queen?
24? Get out of town. Is that you? Come here, you big lug.
All right, no touching.
Man, I can't believe that's what you look like under your costume. Hilarious. You look like Seinfeld with a unibrow. Who knew?
You should talk, all Kevin Smith. Oh, and here's a tip. A beard is not a substitute for a jawline, no matter how you trim it.
You haven't changed. Same old 24.
This really fleshes them out as characters, especially because of them being likened to Kevin Smith and Jerry Seinfeld, which really gives an interesting idea into the personalities of the two now they're out of uniform. I really get a much better impression of what type of people they actually are. One of my favourite jokes of this episode is this one between Brock and Dr Orpheus.
But I am by trade a necromancer. You know what that means, right?
That you have sex with dead people.
File, necrophile. A necromancer can bring the dead to life.
That's some real gallows humour, but it was necessary to add a bit of joviality to this really difficult subject matter. I also enjoyed this scene with Watch and Ward.
Transmit data.
Copy, Tiny Eagle. Ready to receive.
Hello, friend. Good news. Fantastic Caribbean getaway.
Idiot. It's printing from memory. When was the last time you put paper in that thing?
The spam fax really lightens the tone of this scene, and, you know, it's a bit of that old theme of failure kicking in right there. I also enjoyed this scene of Henchmen 21 and 24 attending a support group for henchmen who decided to get out of the henching industry.
Please, Gary was it? Gary, the point of this group is not to enable the henching habit, but to learn how to hench for ourselves.
I hear what you're saying. Instead of being henchmen, we should become supervillains ourselves.
No, that's not.
I like the way Gary cheers up the miserable group by completely subverting the purpose of it and kicking members of the group off the henching wagon. I particularly enjoyed the scene where Brock and Dr. Venture have a trip down memory lane about the various deaths of the boys.
I remember that. That was when we both grew the...
Oh, God, I know. What were we thinking? Oh, that wasn't half as bad as when I had those hair plugs.
That scene is just made so much better by Dr. Orpheus looking absolutely horrified. It's just priceless. I just find it really funny. So I'm going to give this episode a full 10 out of 10. I'd give it an 11 out of 10 if I could, because I love it so much. It's the perfect start to season 2. It's got everything that I want to see in the Venture Brothers. I absolutely love it. I could go on. I mean, the opening sequence alone was enough to give it a 10 out of 10, and it just delivered and delivered and delivered. I absolutely love it, and I was really excited to review this episode. I really hope you've enjoyed going on this journey with me with this one, because it really has meant a lot actually talking about it. So that's all from me. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you don't know what to write, please can you just drop me a Go Team Venture, because apparently that really helps the algorithm. If you haven't already, please could you drop me a like and subscribe to the video. So that's all from me. Unless anything comes up in the meantime, I'll see you next Sunday.